Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Horror Debate. I'm Michael Mandy, he's Rowdy Jeff.
And this week we're reviewing The Other, starring Nicole Kidman from 2001, directed by Alejandro Amenabar. I hope I said that right.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
You like that little trill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alejandro.
Yes, all right. So, plot-wise,
Plot-wise, well, basically, takes place during World War II. Nicole Kidman and her two kids are living in this huge mansion on this little island surrounded by fog most of the time. And basically strange, mysterious, almost ghost-like things are happening around. Some strange caretaker people show up, and she's just waiting for her husband to get back. And the weird thing is these kids have this weird, disease that they can't be touched by sunlight. So she constantly is closing doors and covering curtains and everything, and so that helps create. It's a really weird film.
Reminded me of my kids. You know, when they're locked up in their room with their Xbox, and if sun touches them, they scream. No, kind of reminded me of that. But now this movie is so good, Mike.
Yeah,
so good. I really, really liked this one, and I was shocked that I liked it because it's such a slower paced type.
It's a very slow paced, a surreal almost film. It's almost like I think the fog, it makes it almost like a dream state type.
Oh,
movie.
I love the ambiance. I mean, as soon as the first scene comes up where they're panning slowly towards the kind of zooming slow towards the castle and the fog and the dank and the dark, it was really cool.
Yeah,
and then inside, the how quiet it was, because remember she said that she didn't like any noise in the house, and the kids didn't like noise in the house. Yet they had this big piano in there, by the way. Yeah. But no TV, no stereo, no electricity, no nothing, right? So I mean, it was a perfect setup. Perfect ambiance for this type of movie, for a haunted house type movie.
Yeah, it's a very well done, bigger budget type haunted house movie.
Yeah. And may I say that Nicole Kidman couldn't have done a better job if she tried. Yeah. I mean, I thought she
looked good. Huh?
Not only did she look good,
lately
she knocked it out of the park.
Lately, she's been looking like anorexic, like olive oil stuff. But back then, she was looking good.
See, Tom Cruise wouldn't let her look like that. That's what it was. See, she was out. Tom Cruise produced this, or executive produced this.
That's right.
So when they were together, I mean, she was looking really good. But the whole thing about this movie, man, what made this movie work for me was the ambiance and Nicole Kidman's acting, and the story was put together so well and put on the screen so well, and it made sense. It made sense once you figured out what was going on, which don't think you're getting any spoilers because you're not. But once you figured everything out, it's almost like one of those movies that we've talked about before, where you got to go back and kind of watch it again.
Watch it a second time.
Because you catch so much more the second time, man. Yeah. And, unfortunately, when I first watched this, and I watched it years ago, like when it first came out, I didn't catch everything, okay? Mm-hmm. And I think I was kind of passing out or something while I was watching it, because I didn't remember some of the key elements of the movie. And then when I rewatched it now for the review, I'm like, wow, how did I miss this? Mm-hmm. This is definitely in my top 5 of haunted house movies ever.
Yes, it's a great haunted house movie.
Yeah.
I saw this in the theater, and it was very cool.
Oh, man, and the presentation is what makes this flick. Like I said, not only do you have the ambiance and everything, but the DVD, I got the first run release of the DVD, and I don't think they've remastered it or changed it or anything, but the surround effects in this flick, man, you are gonna trip, okay? You're gonna sit down and you're gonna hear voices coming up from behind you and swirling kind of around you from left to right. It was very, very cool. And again, just adding to that overall kind of feel of it's quiet everywhere else, but now you've got all these spooky kind of noises kind of floating around you. I love it. I absolutely loved it. I thought the presentation was just knocked out of the park. You see where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah.
You see where I'm going with this? This is good. This is going to be one of those high scores.
Yep.
Will it get the 5? Will it get the 5? I absolutely loved it. Now, I hadn't heard of this director, okay? I don't know who this guy is, Cool name, though. Cool name. And I want to say one other thing, too. The little girl, as soon as I saw her come up on the screen, I said, that's Kirsten Dunst.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not. But I had to convince myself of that by logging on to the internet and finding out who the heck it was, because I'm telling you, if you just go plain into this movie and you're watching, you're like, that is a young Kirsten Dunst. She looks just like her. She even has the same teeth that are sticking out as Kirsten Dunst, right? I mean, she does. Okay. Absolutely. And so I told my wife, I said, that's Kirsten Dunst. She goes, no, it's not. This was made in 2001. I'm like, I'm looking it up. I could have sworn it was. And I have not seen anything else that this little girl has done, but I thought she was excellent.
Yeah. Another thing about this film is it used a lot of... This is where, okay, a lot of people think I have a problem with computer technology and computer graphics in movies.
You do!
Well, no, not if it's used correctly.
Right.
This movie, it was used correctly.
There wasn't a lot of it, to be honest with you.
Believe it or not, there wasn't. All the fog.
Oh, yeah. No.
Tons of the fog.
But I mean, just in general, inside the house, there wasn't a lot of it. You could see where there was some of it, but it was used tastefully.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I like computer technology when it's used to create atmosphere, not to have the main character jumping and bouncing around like in Daredevil, where, he jumps, from 4 stories up and lands no problem, looking like a cartoon.
Nicole Kidman did that, didn't she?
No, okay. Adding the fog, like in the Count of Monte Cristo, they changed the color of the grass because where they filmed it, it was brown. When they changed it to green, so I like computers when they know how to use it. In this movie, they knew how to use it.
Yeah. I mean,
it didn't interfere.
For a movie to be this slow-paced and for it to work as well as it did, this guy did something right. He did something that a lot of directors just can't seem to figure out, and that is when you're doing a slow-paced movie, to keep it progressing and to keep the viewer interested with new information at regular intervals. It's not some of these movies, they go brain dead like in the middle. I don't know what happens. It's like they start out great, they get you hooked, you're interested in the story, you like the characters. Somewhere around that magical 20 to 30 minute mark, something goes brain dead with somebody, and you get no tidbits in the middle of the movie, and then all of a sudden
they're kind of on autopilot until the climax of the film.
Exactly, and then at the end of the movie, it's rapid fire. Boom, 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 boom. Here's all the stuff that we should have put an hour ago.
Yeah.
And
probably that's the writer's fault. They have a great beginning and a great ending, and no one remembers the middle.
Yeah, but this movie did it all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of one complaint. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 little lines in the movie that I kind of went, it was kind of like just kind of lines that didn't really seem to fit. I think one of them was Nicole Kidman. She said I forget even what the line was, but she said something. It was so flabbergasted and so it just didn't sound quite right. Okay, but beyond that, I mean, this is as close to a perfect flick for its type that I could possibly want, and I am definitely giving this the 5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's some people might think it's slow paced, but stick with it. Stick with it. It will reward you in the end.
Not only stick with it,
and it's the kind of film that you want to see a second time.
That's what I was going to say. Not only stick with it, but stick with it again, and maybe even for a third time to catch all the little intricacies, because there's a lot of them in this movie, and you're going to want at the end, when you figure this whole thing out, at the end of the movie, you're going to want to go back and watch this thing again, almost immediately, because then you're like, oh, wait a minute.
I got to see that part over again.
Yeah, and I love stuff like that, where you got to be like really thinking about it, man. That's what makes a really good haunted house movie. And
just a really good film in general. A really good film makes you want to watch it again.
Oh, is this our second double 5?
Yeah.
I think it's like our second double 5.
Well, I think
we
Halloween.
Actually agree. I mean, this is like, we should have a cake or something. This is like, we should celebrate.
Yeah.
I think Halloween was the only other one we double 5'd or something.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly deserves it. If you're into this genre at all, if you're listening to this site, you owe it to yourself to see the others.
Yeah. All right. I'm Michael Mandy. He's Rowdy Jeff. We will talk to you next week at the Horror Debate.